Hello students, in this video we will discuss about the topic flower. Okay, so in reproductive morphology, which we have started in the previous video, we discussed about inflorescence. Now in this video we will discuss about the flower. What is this flower? Flower is an organ for sexual reproduction. Flower is an organ of sexual reproduction. So it is meant for sexual reproduction. But is it formed specially on the plant? This we have to discuss now. It is not formed specially. It is only a modification of the shoot system. Okay. So the flower is that's why often described as a modified shoot. Flower is a modified shoot for sexual reproduction. Okay, and what are the evidences that we say that it is not a special organ but is a modified organ? Because I hope you have some idea that the plants in plants life you will find the two phases. One is vegetative phase and the other one is reproductive phase. During vegetative phase, the vegetative organs like root, stem and leaves will grow. And by the time it comes to maturity, it starts producing flowers. Means actually where from where these flowers will develop, either from axillary buds or from the terminal buds. And actually during vegetative phase, the axillary buds helped in the formation of a branch, and the terminal buds helped in the growth of the stem and the growth of the branch. And they are changing their behavior now during reproductive phase. So during reproductive phase, either axillary bud or terminal bud, that depends on the species, will change into a flower instead of a branch or helping the growth of the branch. So that itself the first indication that it is a modification of either axillary bud or terminal bud. And one more thing here, the flower is a beautiful structure. It is a beautiful organ, and the beauty comes from sepals and petals, which are non-essential organs of the flower. But what are these sepals and petals? They're all modified leaves. And not only sepals, petals, even stamens and the carpels are also modified leaves. Okay, so that's why we can say that this is a modified shoot for sexual reproduction. And this flower topic is very important in taxonomy, because in taxonomy we will describe the plants, we will describe the vegetative characters of the plants and floral characters of the plants. And in taxonomy, among vegetative characters and floral characters, the most important ones are floral characters. And this description will be a technical description. And if you have to describe technically, we have to learn the technical terms. That's why I would like to give you some idea about these technical terms. And generally, in taxonomy, the flower is described under two headings. One is general description of the flower. General description. And the other one is detailed description of the flower. One is general description and the other one is detailed description. So in the general description, we will discuss different parts of the flower. Like we will discuss about Bract, to pedicel, thread, bracteoles, thalamus, five, floral leaves, six, sides of the flower, seven, sexuality of the flower, sexuality of the flower, 8, merosity of the flower, 9, um, okay and this structural symmetry of the flower, and 10, position of gynoecium. Position of gynoecium. Okay, and under detailed description, we will discuss about the perianth, calyx, okay, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Okay, and for understanding, I drew one diagram here, a diagram of a typical flower, and you can see it is a model flower, and as it is a model flower, you can see all parts in it. That means we can't expect all these parts in every flower. Okay, so here I wrote peduncle, means what this is, one flower which is magnified from a group of flowers, because you know that a group of flowers which are arranged on a common axis is called inflorescence. That common axis bearing flowers is called peduncle. Okay, so and on the peduncle, you can see that the peduncle bears some modified leaves which are called bracts. So this is bract, and this bract actually possess one bird in its axil, as it is a modified leaf, and that axillary bird of the bract will become a flower. Okay, so that's why I'm showing you one flower that is coming from the axil of this bract, and this flower is having one stalk, and that stalk of the flower is called pedicel. Stalk of the flower is called pedicel. And you can see I drew some leaf-like appendages, not modified leaves. So the leaf-like appendages present on pedicel are called bracteoles. Okay, and now this is the pedicel, and the tip of the pedicel is swollen, and the swollen tip of the pedicel, or from here it got condensed, and that condensed tip is called thalamus, and over this thalamus you will find the modified leaves which are called floral leaves. And the floral leaves include what? These green colored structures, sepals, and these colored structures called petals, and the male sex organs which are called stamens, and the collective name for the stamens is what? Androecium. And in the middle you will find what? The female sex organ, that is gynoecium, and the members of that gynoecium are called carpels. So these are the different parts in a typical flower. But how to define all these parts? Okay, let us see now. So now we will discuss these different parts in detail. First, let us see the bract. How to define this bract? The leaf, modified leaf present on the peduncle. What is peduncle? The axis of the inflorescence. The peduncle is called okay, bract. But remember, this bract is absent when the flower develops in the axil of the leaf, or when the flower develops at the tip of the branch. And we already discussed that when single flowers develop in the axil of the leaf or at the tip of the branch, we call such flowers as what? Solitary flowers, as in the case of China rose and Datura. So that's why we come across with two conditions here. So the flower may have bract, or bract may be absent. And the flower with the bract is described as bracteate flower. Okay, the flower with bract is described as bracteate flower, and generally in the floral formula we use this. It is denoted as BR, that is bracteate. And suppose if bract is absent, it is described as ebracteate flower. And the symbol is EBR. And now let us see what is this pedicel. The stalk of the flower, the stalk of the flower is called pedicel. But you see, even the stalk may or may not be present. So, two conditions you will find. The flower with pedicel is called pedicellate flower. And when pedicel is absent, the flowers are described as sessile flowers. And we won't mention this particular character in the floral formula. So that's why no need of symbols for this. And now, what is this bracteole? And you can see that this is pedicel, and over that pedicel, you will find some leaf-like structures. So remember that these are not modified leaves; they are leaf-like appendages. Leaf-like appendages present on pedicel. Present on pedicel. You have to be very careful. Don't get confused with bract and the bracteole. Bract is present on peduncle. Bracteole is present on the pedicel. Bract is a modified leaf, but bracteole is a leaf-like appendage. Then how to differentiate? That's why in the bract you will find one axillary bud. In the axil of the bract, axillary bud is present, and that will become a flower or it may become a branch of the peduncle. Okay, so these are leaf-like appendages, and even you find two conditions here. This bracteole may or may not be present. That means there is no rule that the bracteole should be there. So when bracteole is present, the flower is described as bracteolate, bracteolate flower. And the symbol which we use in the floral formula is BRL. And when the bracteole is absent, it is described as abracteolate. And the symbol is EBRL. And here one statement is there, and you have to understand such statements also. All bracteolate flowers are pedicellate. Because I hope you are understanding. You can expect bracteole only when the flower is with pedicel. But all pedicellate flowers are not bracteolate. Means what? There is no rule that as pedicel is present, there should be bracteoles. Okay, that's why I hope you are understanding this statement. All bracteolate flowers are pedicellate, but all pedicellate flowers are not bracteolate. Okay, so that's what you'll find bracteole. And now we are coming to the this fourth one, thalamus, and this is also called as torus. The swollen tip, the swollen tip of the pedicel. Okay, this is applicable. This definition is applicable when there is pedicel. But thalamus is present in all flowers. So that's why I'm writing like this. The condensed axis bearing floral leaves, bearing floral leaves is called thalamus. Okay, I hope you're understanding. We can differentiate now. That is when the flower is with pedicel, and the tip will will swell up, and that's why we are defining it like this. The swollen tip of the pedicel is called thalamus, and when it is absent, but still thalamus will be there, and now you can't use this one as there is no pedicel. So that's why we can define it like this. The condensed axis bearing floral leaves is called thalamus. Okay, yes, we started this topic with one statement. Flower is a modified shoot. Okay, and when it is a modified shoot or modified stem, and what you will find over the stem? Leaves. And but here it is modified for sexual reproduction. That's why what leaves are present on this thalamus? Floral leaves. Floral leaves. And these floral leaves are of, in a typical flower, the floral leaves are of four types. Means what you will find, first sepals, then you will find petals, then you will find stamens, then you will find carpels. So sepals, petals, stamens, carpels, these are all what modified leaves. So the sepals means what? Of course, we know that the place where leaves originate is called what? Node. So that's why the place where sepals are present will make first node, and the second node is petals, and the third node is occupied by stamens, and the fourth node is occupied by carpels. So now, in a typical flower, how many nodes are present on thalamus? If question comes like that, you have to say four nodes. Okay, and and if you consider them as leaves, and already we discussed in the chapter leaf or in the topic leaf about phyllotaxy, the arrangement. And we saw three basic types of phyllotaxis. One is alternate phyllotaxy, second is opposite phyllotaxy, and the third is world phyllotaxy. So now, if these are leaves, and what phyllotaxy you will find in the flower? World phyllotaxy. So the sepals are arranged in a whorl. So it forms what? First whorl, and the petals will occupy the second whorl, and stamens will occupy the third whorl, and the carpels will occupy the fourth whorl. So now, remember only that the number of nodes in a flower are four nodes, and number of whorls in a typical flower are four whorls. So the whorl stands for what? Group of sepals. And what is the technical term given for this group? First whorl is called as calyx, and the symbol which we use in the floral formula is K. And the second node or second whorl is called corolla, and the symbol we use is what? C. And the third whorl is called andrecium, and the symbol is A. And the fourth whorl, okay, is called gynoecium, and the symbol used is what? G. So, and remember, if they ask outermost whorl in the flower, calyx, innermost whorl of the flower is gynoecium. Okay, they are a typical flower. But of course, remember some terms will be there. So, if a flower with all four whorls, flower with all four, suppose if you find all these four whorls in a flower, then the flower is described as complete flower. Complete flower. Okay, and if any part is missing, if any part is missing, So the flower is called incomplete flower. Incomplete flower. And here also you have to understand one statement. A tricky statement is there. That is, all complete flowers are bisexual, but all bisexual flowers need not be complete. I hope understanding. You see, complete flower means what? All four whorls. In that, the stamens and carpels will be there. The stamens are male sex organs of the flower, and the carpels are female sex organ of the flower. Or androecium is the male sex organ of the flower, and gynoecium is female sex organ of the flower. So the complete flower will have both the sexes. So all complete flowers are bisexual. It is true or not? Yes, it is true. But all bisexual flowers need not be complete. Is what? A flower may be having sepals, petals, and stamens only. What is missing? Gynoecium is missing. Okay. I'm sorry. Suppose a bisexual flower is having okay, petals, stamens, carpels. So bisexual. But what are missing? Sepals are missing. And suppose, let us say, a flower is having sepals, okay, stamens, carpels. So both are there, both sexes are there. So bisexual flower. But what is missing here? Petals are missing, and here sepals are missing. So these, so that's why bisexual flower can be a complete flower, or it can be even incomplete flower. So this is what we will discuss in this video, and in the next video we will discuss the other aspects like sides of the flower, sexuality of the flower, symmetry of the flower, and position of gynoecium. We will discuss in the next video.